Good morning, friends. It's Heather at Bush Poppy Farm. Hope you are doing well. Today, we are doing a whole bunch of things. We are taking dahlia cuttings. We're starting a whole bunch more seeds. And if the rain holds off, we're getting some transplanting done. About 2.5 weeks ago, we potted up our dahlia tubers in the hopes of getting cuttings to take. And so let me show you where we're at this point. Okay, so here's our 2 trays of dahlias. And this is actually, not a lot of dahlias. I had my entire stock got eaten last year by gophers. This year, I have protected the bed with hardware cloth, and so they'll be safe. But in order to multiply my stock now, instead of waiting until they produce more tubers, I am taking cuttings. This will give me a clone of the mother plant. So not all of them have started to sprout yet. This one, Nettie, isn't sprouted yet. That's fine. This one just started, so we won't be taking, this is bride-to-be. I won't be taking any cuttings off of that today. This one, Frank Holmes, is great. Those will be 2 good cuttings, and we'll get 2 cuttings off of Tahoma Moonshot as well. This guy, I'm going to wait a little bit. We'll take some off of this. I think I'm waiting. Well, no, we're going to do Oh Honey as well, but maybe only 1. And Fluffles, and you can see the others are just kind of slowly coming along, and that's perfect. I'm not going to cut anything until it's really ready. This one we will take, but it's going to be a very small cutting. Taking dahlia cuttings is super simple, especially if you lay them out either in a tray or like I did here where the neck is exposed, because then you don't have to dig down. What you're going to want to do is get something super sharp, either a nice knife, very sharp knife, horticultural knife, or a pair of clippers or tweezers or something that you can go in and cut off the cutting by taking a tiny bit of the tuber as well. Not a lot. Just a little bit. And then we'll leave these tubers where they're at because they will produce more stems for cuttings. Generally, I usually just do 1 round of cuttings, but we shall see. If it gets warm sooner rather than later, then they may produce more and I may be able to take more. I don't want to take too many cuttings off of them though, because then it will exhaust the tuber and I won't get really good production off of them. So probably a max 2 cuttings, 2 rounds of cuttings. So for instance, this Tahoma Moonshot has 2 stems here. I will take those off. It will produce more. I may not take any more of this particular one. We'll just have to see. So the other thing I need is my prepared pots where these cuttings are going to go. I've already got them labeled. This is just regular potting soil. You can use rooting hormone if you like. This is the one that I have, but I've found with dahlias, they don't need it. They root really easily. So let's talk about the anatomy of these stems and how you can take a cutting. All right, let's work with this one here. This cutting right here, you can see is attached to the tuber right there. I'm going to take my super sharp scissors, and these are actually for knitting, for cutting yarn, but they're very sharp and they're very thin. So I'm able to get in here and just snip off the cutting. Okay, so if you're looking at this cutting, you can see I've got a tiny bit of the tuber on the end there. And then we've got these leaves, which I'm going to remove because we're going to stick this into soil and we don't want any leaves below the soil surface. Now, this is a pretty tall cutting, but I'm not too worried. It will produce stems, it will produce roots here and also here. If you see at this junction here, that little, what looks like a sprout, that has not yet decided whether it's going to be side leaves or if it's going to be a flower stalk or if it's buried in soil, if it's going to be a root. So what we're going to do to make this cutting a little bit more manageable is we're going to cut right here, right below that node, and then we're going to take these leaves off. All right, so now I have 2 perfect spots from which roots can grow, and there's not too much leaf material up here. to lose too much water from the cutting in evaporation. We get our container that we're going to have, and all you do is poke a little hole here, stick the cutting down in almost up to where the leaves are, and then tap it in. You don't want to pack it tight, but you also want it to be seated firmly. And then we'll take the other cutting, do the same thing, and then we have 2 new Tahoma Moonshot plants. Now this one isn't too long. I will just poke a hole here. They seem to do much better if you put them up against the walls of the pot. I'm not sure why. It's just the way they go. Now we're going to give this a little bit of water, and then it's going to go back in the tray with its fellows, and those will be 2 new plants. They will start to produce roots, and then they'll be big enough. When they're big enough, I will plant them out along with these other tubers, and then they will produce tubers for me over the year, and so then I will have multiple of that individual plant that will all be clones of the parent plant. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and take the rest of these cuttings, get them potted up. We're going to put these back where they were, which was on a heat mat, and make sure that they are damp but not wet. They need some humidity for the rooting to take place. You can't let them dry out, but you also don't want them to be saturated. And once this is done, then we'll move on to the seeds. So cuttings are taken. They are chilling out as they grow and begin to put on roots. Next thing is to start the next round of seeds. This weather is so weird. It's going from like pouring rain to bright sunshine. It's bizarre. And blue sky. Like it's the wind is really blowing, so I guess just moving out. Starting seeds, we are going to do 1 tray of using the soil blocker, this size that has 20 cells in it. That means I can fit 2,000 seedlings in a tray. So what are we starting? Yesterday I went out to the farm to harvest. Even though I usually do it on Mondays, it was supposed to be dumping rain this morning, and it was. So I did it yesterday evening, and definitely some of the seedlings, some of the Dahlia, some of the zinnia seedlings have been being predated upon. Something's eating them. So I don't know how much longer they're going to last. Hopefully, at least some of them will survive. I'm going to go back out there and set more traps, but the traps are not catching anything. So I'm feeling a little defeated. So I'm going to keep starting zinnia seeds because I have to get zinnias this year. So the first one we're going to do is Queenie Red Lime. This is a Johnny's seed, but it's gorgeous. The Queen series is really nice. I'll try to pop a photo in here for you. These are beautiful, and they really are fun to mix in bouquets because of their interesting color story. So we'll be starting those, 20 of those. Then we're going to do 40 of, no picture here, the cactus flower mix. These are really interesting form for zinnias. And then we're going to do 40 of the Oklahoma mix. Oklahomas are the much smaller little zinnias, and they are perfect for putting in bouquets because they don't take up a lot of room and they're really nice secondary flowers. So that's a mix. And then the final zinnia that we're starting is these Zinderella Pastels mix, and this one is from Botanical Interest. Then on the other side of that tray, we're going to start more dahlias by seed though this time. So this is the Dandy Collarette Dahlia. That's not much of a picture there, but I did start some of these already, and I did plant them out. They grew fast and beautifully, but then they got eaten. So we're gonna do it again. And then I'll be starting the last of my Petite Fleurette. These I have at the farm already in a protected bed, and they gave me beautiful flowers last year. And I'm sure they'll come back this year, but I'd like to have more. And then more basil. So we have already transplanted the cinnamon and burgundy and lemon basil out there. We're going to start another succession. So we're doing everleaf lemon and cinnamon basil. And again, these are used as the greenery for bouquets. They have a wonderful scent, and they just look really nice. And then finally, I'm gonna sow some didiscus. I have lacy white and lacy pink here, and this is what it looks like. I just happen to have these seeds. This is not a crop that I normally grow, but again, this year is all about trying to use up the seeds that I'm no longer gonna be buying for these particular varieties. So I'm gonna go ahead and start those. Then it's time to add another tray of sunflowers. So this is a nice little mix here. We are gonna have, and some of these are for the farm, some of these are for the garden. This is the Velvet Queen sunflower. Then I have a teddy bear sunflower. Then we're starting more sunflower seed. Then we're starting more Sunflower Steve sunflowers. This is the Van Gogh Fantasy Mix. I grew that one last year. And the Lemon Drop Mix. And then I also will be starting a branching one called Darjeeling, as well as some smaller varieties that work great on the fronts of borders because they're short. They're like, I don't know, 12 to 18 inches high, and they're branching. One's called Orange Hobbit, another is called Junior, and then we have Cherry Rose, which is a much bigger branching sunflower. So starting all of those today as well. And for the cottage garden or even out front, we're gonna start some 4 o'clocks. Again, going through seed packets using what I've got. So this one is the Marbles Mixed 4 o'clocks. I'm starting a little bit more lettuce. We're gonna do Butter Crunch and Little Gem because I need it in the garden. And I'm hoping these seeds, because I saved them from September 2022. I don't know, we'll see. They look pretty good. I'm gonna start a tray of Chocolate Cosmos. Chocolate Cosmos are a perennial cosmos. They are tiny little flowers. They do literally smell like chocolate, and they're a dark burgundy brown color. They're beautiful, and the scent is amazing. So I'm gonna sprinkle those in a shallow tray, just like I did with these wildflower mixes, the Moonlight mix or whatever. Let me show you how those look. So they've germinated. This end here is the Midnight Mix. There's nothing in the middle, and then this is the other one. And what I've done is, because this is a perforated tray, all I do is I fill the bottom tray with some water, and then I dip the perforated tray in. It soaks all of the soil, makes it nice and damp. And then I can just put it up on the shelf. The seeds germinate, and they never dry out. So they're doing great. And I don't even know that I'll prick these out. I probably will just cut out little sections once they're big enough to put in the garden, and I'll just place those in different places. So I'm going to do something similar with the Chocolate Cosmos. It'll all be one flower, but I'm going to tray sow them so that I don't have to put them in individual trays, because I also have no idea how good these seeds are because they are 3 years old. All right, you guys have seen me start soil blocks and do the whole thing many times, so I'm not gonna film that. I'm just gonna go ahead and get it done. And then I'll show you what it looks like afterwards. Then we'll go over what's still here in the greenhouse that needs to go out and see if we can, in between rain showers, get out there and put some stuff in the ground. Now, I'm not gonna put tomatoes out today, even though I really want to, mostly because it's super windy. And even burying these deeply and with support, I think they'll struggle in that wind because the stems are still, you know, very small. So I don't want to risk breaking more stems because I've lost so many tomatoes with broken stems already. But I did already this morning plant a bunch of zucchinis and winter squashes out there in raised beds. I didn't put them in the ground yet. Still anxious about that because I do see more rat activity. So it's hard to set the rat traps when it's raining because it washes away the bait, and it also triggers the traps sometimes if the rain is really hard. So I kind of have to wait until that's done, till the rain is done. All right, let me get these sewn and then we will talk about next steps. Okay, well, this is the tray of the zinnias, the dahlia, basil, and didiscus. And then here are the 6-packs I started. I've got 2 Chocolate Cosmos 6-packs and then 4 o'clocks, Little Gem, and Butter Crunch. Haven't gotten to the sunflowers yet. I really need to eat some lunch before I do that. But I did want to show you how the greenhouse is kind of packed right now. It's going to be a while before we can get some of these out. So up top is that last round of sunflowers. That's coming up quickly, so that's great. That will go out hopefully this week. And then we've still got all of our succulents looking fine. I water them as needed. Here we've got a selection of okra and baptisia, lupine, all kinds of stuff potted up, as well as some peppers in the back. This is our next succession of zinnias, as well as the grasses to go out to the farm. Not quite ready, but getting close. And then we've still got, summer and winter squashes here, as well as cucumbers. Most of the cukes are down here. And so definitely need to get these out pretty soon because they're getting big in these pots. This is a tray of celosia, definitely not ready to go out yet. It cannot handle chilly weather at all, so I'll probably have to bump those guys up. Down here we've got peppers, and I have another tray of peppers somewhere. Then we've got the begonias here, which hopefully after tomorrow's storm we can pot up. Then over here we've got corn, more Racina calendula, and in the back, some nasturtiums, which are starting to pop up. More peppers back here. This is pumpkin on a stick, which I still haven't figured out where to put. And then we've got the remaining tomatoes, as well as some overwintered peppers. This is some of the stuff I'm thinking of putting out front this afternoon after I eat lunch. The wind has picked up quite a bit, and it is really quite chilly, so I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But all of these marigolds need to go out for sure because they're going to get too big for their britches in here. These are the little gems, lemon and yellow tangerine gems, and red metamorph and stuff. Those are the things I plant, around my other crops, as well as all the nasturtiums, which this is the first time I've ever started them in 6-packs. And I'm glad I did because I think they're just going to do better. They're not thrilled with being transplanted, but they're not super, they'll be fine. I mean, you can buy nasturtiums at the plant nurseries all the time. But I think this gives them a chance because right now the consistent moisture and where I usually put them is hit or miss because those beds don't have irrigation to them. They just have the oyas. So, all right, the last thing I need to do today or tomorrow is bump up all of these basils. This is Genovese basil and this is Tulsi. And I definitely want these for the garden, but they can't stay in these soil blocks. And it's still a little too cold to put them out. So I'm going to bump those up to bigger pots, which I have. And I'm going to bump up these Rudbeckia Maya. I've put some of these out already, but they are very small, and I want some that will grow on that I can put out larger plants so that if those fail or they get eaten, I'll have these guys. All right, I'm going to go eat, and then we'll see. Maybe we'll be able to go out to the front garden and pop some stuff in. Okay, the weather is actually moving in, so we are not going to be transplanting. It's crazy how fast these clouds are moving. It's quite chilly here in the garage. But I do need to make bouquets for tomorrow. So I want to show you what I harvested yesterday. So this is kind of the last of the daffodils. There are still plenty out there, but some of these I can't even use. Like this, that's just too old. You've got some, it's peeling back here. It's like becoming tissue thin. There's some browning on the yellow parts. So some of these in this bucket are just not going to be usable. Generally, I like to harvest them when they are not open, but this is where we are in the season. Then we have a bucket here of Magus. It's looking beautiful. Plenty of greenery for the bouquets. This bucket is just going to be coming inside. Well, except for these guys. So like some of these are usable, but these are not. They've been open for days. They're blown open, and that will not last long in the vase for a customer. So they look beautiful, but they are not good for bouquets for customers. Now the closed ones I definitely will use, but the rest of these are just going to be in the house. Same with these. These are not, well, these guys are, they were closed yesterday, so I can still use those, but the rest of these are blown open. These are the only ranunculus that survived everything this year, which is such a bummer. And then these are tulips that have been in the fridge, my refrigerator, for over 3 weeks. They're in great shape. They will hydrate very nicely, and they will be perfect in these bouquets. Well, the rain finally showed up. It was raining so hard when it first started. It was blowing in with the high wind. I had to close the garage and sit here kind of in the dark to work because it was like crazy. And the temperature has really dropped. It's quite chilly right now. So I'm glad I'm done because my hands are freezing. So 11 bouquets done, as well as 2 for the house with the leftovers that are kind of already spent. You'll notice that the Magus really sticks up above a lot of the bouquets, and the reason for that is tulips continue to grow in the vase. So when I put tulips in a bouquet, I put them in shorter, lower than the other flowers because they'll continue to grow. The stems will continue to grow as they open up. And so at that point, then they're kind of all at the same level in the vase. And some of this just kind of gives that like whimsical, light, airy notion around the bouquets when they're in a vase, but people are free to cut off pieces that don't work for them or cut them shorter or whatever. Anyway, those are done. Tomorrow is just 2 quick deliveries, and the rest come here to pick them up on my front porch, which is very handy. And then the final 2 bouquets, just one of all daffodils that goes inside, and then this one will go inside as well on the dining room table. They're beautiful tulips. I can give you a little bit better view. It's very, very wedding-esque to me. If I was going to have a springtime, might ask for ranunculus and these tulips. They're very wedding-esque. So some of them are not opened all the way yet, and they will as time goes on. And like I said, they'll continue to grow in the vase. So that's going to be it for me today, you guys. It's cold out here. I need to go in and get started planning something for dinner. Thanks for hanging out with me. Tomorrow, it may be raining all day, and I'll have to figure out what we're going to do. If not, then we're going to start some transplanting and get back out to the farm and set a bunch more traps. Hope that I can catch the rodents who are causing the damage. I hope you have a wonderful time in your garden, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.